A dino-chicken from hell, a cartwheeling spider, and a psychedelic sea slug. These are but a few of the newly discovered species on this year's list of newly discovered species. Scientist Michelle Dickinson is here to tell us all about this list. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
The interesting thing is, it's 2015. How many more newly, undiscovered species will make it to future lists?
They estimate that there are 10 million that we haven't discovered yet. We've actually only discovered about 2 million. Last year, 18...
If we haven't discovered them, how can they say how many there might be?
Well, it's an estimate based on how many we've already discovered and the rate that we keep discovering at. So last year we discovered 18,000 new species. And
18,000 totally new species last year.
So totally new species that have been categorized. So people in local areas are like, oh, we knew about that. We just never had a name for it, but these are actually officially categorized.
So is this like people, say, up the Amazon have been catching a certain sort of fish for millennia, and then all of a sudden someone comes along and says, well, that actual fish is slightly different than these others.
So taxonomists have come up with these specific names, and this is part of the 18,000 list.
Some of these on the list, and we're just looking at the top 10 this morning, a few of them, but some of them on the major list are ones that are extinct already. So we haven't discovered them until they've become extinct.
Yep, and they think that there'll be many of those discoveries where we discover just extinct species, especially with the rate that species are going extinct now. And this top 10 list came from, basically they went through all 18,000, picked the top 40, and then got judges to decide the top 10 based on a whole bunch of cool criteria.
Just quickly, what is it? Do they have to be interesting? Because I guess a lot of those 18,000 things are just boring.
Yeah. No, kind of interesting, kind of unique, kind of quirky, things we may never have seen before.
So if you lived your life just as like a wizened stick that just sat there, then you're not likely to get into the top 10.
Well, a sticky insect did get into the top 10, so...
Yeah, but that moves, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you're just... Not very much. No, you're right. So actually, that shows you just how bloody boring so many of those things must have been. All right, let's look at the top 10, but not all of them. These are the ones that you think are the most interesting of all of them. Number 1.
Chicken from hell.
This one is extinct, probably just as well.
A dinosaur chicken. So basically it's a bird-like dinosaur that has feathers.
Yeah.
It's 1.5 meters tall. It weighs about 300 kilos. Omnivore, so does eat small animals as well as plants. Weird chicken dinosaur. It's kind of cool. Yeah,
and probably nasty.
Well,
I'm thinking nasty. All right, at number 3 on the list, I love this, the cartwheeling spider.
Cartwheeling spider. So literally, because it lives in the desert in Morocco, it's got two choices because the desert's flat, it's dry. It can either try and run away from its predator, which would have to run really far to be not seen, right? Miles and miles.
Yeah.
Or it can run at them. And it's found that running is too slow. If it launches itself and cartwheels, when you watch the video, it's more of a front flip. It attacks the predator by coming at it, by somersaulting towards it at high speed in the hope that, well, I guess it gets scared away, otherwise it gets eaten. But yeah, pretty cool.
That's interesting. So it's doing that because I thought for a moment that it might have been doing that because the sand was hot.
That may be part of it.
So it'd ricochet around.
Maybe we need to redefine that. What's cool about this one is actually it's led to the development of a new type of robot that does this cartwheeling thing, what they're designing for places like Mars, which are highly sandy and, same sort of thing. So yeah, now there's a cartwheeling robot.
Love it. Right, at number 5, Deutergenia osreum.
Bonehouse wasp. This is cool. This is kind of a bit creepy. It's a wasp that lays its eggs. So it makes a nest, makes a little egg nest for each of
Is this going to be vile, what you're about to tell me?
Yeah. And then she goes around and she kills a spider and she puts a dead spider into each of the individual sac nests for her babies and then seals them up so that when they wake up and hatch, they've got
Oh, well, at least the spider's dead.
Yeah, no, she kills them, leaves the corpses in there, and then she seals the whole nest up and then picks up ants and kills all of those and then leaves a whole dead ant chamber to seal it so that her babies smell of dead ants so that other people and other predators don't come and eat it.
Wow.
So it's like this whole corpse nest with
So do they eat the ants? Because ants are quite often poisonous, which is why the smell of ants will put things off.
No, they just crawl through the ants. They
to get covered in the smell. I love it. How clever is that? I thought you were going to say it's one of those parasitic things that lays their eggs in the living bodies.
She just leaves dead things for her babies when they hatch.
All right, and finally, and obviously there are 18,000, but I'm sorry, Michelle, we do not have time to go through the entire list. Finally, number 6, the fanged frog.
Fanged frog, the only species that gives birth to live tadpoles. So usually frogs...
Oh, spawn with eggs and
Usually they do it all externally. They can't do fertilization. There are 12 species that can do internal fertilization, and this is the only one that can live tadpoles.
And it was only last year that they found this frog?
Yeah, in Indonesia.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Eh?
That is amazing. Michelle, thank you so much. That is fascinating. Michelle Dickinson, Nanotech scientist.